Hey guys, Loot Wizard here with another video on Gems of War, and what we have here today is a faction event. It is Tuesday. Every Tuesday there is a faction event. This one is the Warrens, and it has in the shop, a weapon that is associated with it called the Garland Staff. Now, this is actually a pretty decent weapon. I wouldn't say it's top tier, but it's probably middle tier as far as faction weapons go. And if you already have the better faction weapons, there's probably three, four, maybe five, but there's three to four probably that are better than this one as far as faction weapons go. But this one here is still pretty good. Now, what does it do? It deals scatter damage to all enemies, and then it grants 1 or 2 status effects to all allies. The damage isn't great. What scatter damage means is that it will do damage randomly among all surviving enemy troops. So if there is only one enemy troop left, it will do the full 32 damage to that one enemy. Now, granting 1 or 2 status effects to all allies is where it really kind of shines, and that means that all allies will gain something like Enchant, Barrier, Bless, any of the positive status effects that can happen to your troops. It will do 1 to 2 of those status effects to all your allies. So sometimes it'll only do 1 when you cast it, sometimes it'll do 2. So sometimes it'll barrier all your allies and enchant all your allies, which is pretty good. So the upgrades are actually really good on it as well. Before we go into that, it is a pretty low mana cost of 13, and since we have so many classes that will start your weapon with half mana, you can get this down to needing only about 6 or 7 mana to get it going the first time. So now that we went over that, let us go in and look at the upgrades for the weapon. And it's actually pretty good. It's under yellow and green. And here we go, upgrade weapon. So it has tangling here, which is entangle the first enemy. Now, if you don't know what entangle is, it is like this green vine visually that goes over the troop. And when an enemy troop is entangled, it means that its attack damage is reduced to 0. Now, attack damage is different than spell damage. Spell damage is based off of your magic, and skull damage is based off of the physical attack number on that troop. So, if a troop is entangled, when it connects skulls and it hits your troop, it won't do any damage, except if it connects doom skulls. Doom skulls, even when when the enemy troop or your troop is entangled, connecting those doom skulls will still do a little bit of damage. It will be really reduced damage, but it'll still do a little bit. So that's why entangle is really important, but this is even more important because it doesn't just entangle a random enemy, it entangles the first enemy. And whenever you connect skulls, or the enemy connects skulls, it's the first troop at the top that is going to be doing the skull damage. Now, second here we have enchanting. It will enchant itself when it's cast. This is great. What enchant means is that your troop will gain 2 mana every single turn. Unless mana drain is cast on it or something from an enemy troop. But without that in the equation, you're going to have your troop, once it's enchanted, gain 2 mana every single turn, which just means you're going to be able to cast this weapon a lot quicker. And also, you have this here as well, which destroys 3 random green gems, which this weapon only takes 13 mana. So after you cast it the first time, it will destroy 3 green gems, which means you're only going to need 10 mana, but then it's also going to enchant itself, and that means that every single turn after that, you're going to gain a 2 mana, even if you don't connect any green or yellow gems. So you're going to be able to cast this weapon so often, as long as you don't have any mana color troops blocking this weapon. You're going to be able to cast it probably every like 3 turns. You'll just be like, keep casting it, and every time you cast it, it will be doing all those positive status effects to your allies, which is really great. All your other allies could be enchanted, they could be blessed, they could be barrier. So it's, like I said, it's not a top tier weapon. I don't use it quite as often as I used to, but there's still places where I do find a use for it, and it's a pretty fun weapon to use. Now, one thing that I do have to mention here about this faction, the Warrens faction, is that it is the only Delve faction out of all the ones they've released so far that actually rewards a arcane stone for defeating the boss room. Now, if you haven't leveled this faction up, this is really important. If you want to farm a lot of the arcane light stones, then you just don't want to level this faction up higher than 20. So if you're going to participate in the event here, I really recommend that you do your battles all the way up. You can do all the battles up to the boss room, but don't do the boss room. Keep the boss room untouched in the event here, because if you do the boss room, it's going to keep leveling your faction up to 30, 40, and the higher that level goes, the tougher the enemies are going to get. You don't get more rewards the harder the battles are. Your rewards come from leveling up the faction horde quality. So if we go in here, I'm in the underworld right now where these factions are. If we go to the Warrens, you have your horde level here. Now, you upgrade your horde level with these different cards that you get when you're spending your shards on the different portals for the different factions. So you're going to use these here to level up your faction, the one you want. Now, once quality is 10 of 10, you're going to get the full bonuses for completing going through the battles. So this is where you get more rewards for your faction, not leveling up your faction higher. I know that's a little confusing, but so basically what I'm saying is if you want to maximize your rewards and if you want to farm arcane light stones, which arcane stones are very important for upgrading your troops, then you want to keep this faction, the Warrens, at level 20, like I have here. This is one of my main farming factions because of that reason. So I've kept mine at 20. So like, I should say here though too is that when you go in here, when you're doing your delve in the underworld, don't select level 30 or higher. Always select level 20 if you want that faction to stay at level 20. Now, the reason why I said don't do the event boss room is because when you go up here and you fight the faction this way in the event, if you complete the boss room, it will automatically level you up to the next level, 30, then 40. But if you're down here in the underworld and you go in and you do, let's say, this battle here, you can defeat the boss room in the underworld and it won't automatically level it up to 30 or the next level. So I know it's really confusing sometimes, so I'm trying to explain it the best I can. But yeah, if you have any other questions about there, you need me to clarify something, you can post a comment on this video, and I'll try to explain it better than I just did. So I had to specify that because the Warrens faction is the only one that gives arcane stones right now for defeating those boss rooms. So it's really important if you want to farm those arcane light stones to keep it at level 20 so that you'll have an easy time to do that. I know that I got a little off track from the weapon, but since this is the faction here that the event's going on for, a lot of people are probably new and they don't realize they're going to get arcane light stones, so I just wanted to save you guys some grief there. Hopefully this video gets out to you before you do that. But yeah, that's my opinion on the weapon, and hopefully those tips helped you guys. And I'll see you in the next video. Later.